good morning, and welcome back to Heal with Emmy. This is a super special episode. It is not only the 10th episode of everything I have ever released, it is also my very first video episode for you, and it is also my very first episode with a guest. And I have brought in my beloved old friend Freya, who I know from Denmark that I met in high school. She and I have always had amazing talks, and we are in so many ways very similar, but in so many more ways we have so different opinions. So it's going to be a super exciting talk for you to listen to and to come into. If you have any comments afterwards, questions, you are always welcome to comment. Ask Freya. I might bring her on again if you liked her a lot, and if you have questions for her you want to hear more about. So welcome on this Saturday. It is early morning for me and I am a little tired today. I had a little difficulty getting up, so I brought in my morning coffee. I'm back on the coffee. It changes on and off. And I hope you are having a nice time too and you're ready to hear what we got to tell you today. Welcome back to Heal with Emmy. I am your healing bestie, and this podcast is for you who wants to heal, who wants a life of abundance, and for you who just stands out of the normal crowd. For you who knows that there are way more to life than what most people actually think. So, Freya, welcome, my dear
Thank you so
friend.
much. I'm so honored to be on this show.
I am so excited to have you, and I thought the guest that has to be number one, it has to be you. So,
Aw.
yeah, it's just amazing, and I'm really happy to have you here, to be honest. Really happy. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here as well. I've really looked forward to this because, as you also mentioned, we're quite different, but we also have like similar values, but they just are just shown in a different way. So I think that this will be a really, really good episode.
Yeah, super. Do you want to tell the person who's listening right now just a little about yourself? Because
Yeah.
as they know, I'm a digital nomad and I'm traveling a lot, but you and I also live very different lifestyles. So if you can tell a little about that.
Yeah. So I am 22, soon 23 years old. I live in Denmark, in Copenhagen, where I study biology at the Copenhagen University. I am currently in my second year, and before that I had 2 sabbatical years, and then I was in high school where I had a master in biology as well.
So a
Yeah.
bit of a biology fan, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
As you can see, I
amazing.
also have a plant in my background. There are plants all over my apartment.
Yeah, you have an apartment filled with amazing plants.
Yeah.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
So nice, Freya. As you know, I speak a lot and share a lot about the more authentic part of ourselves that society might see as the more vulnerable part, but I see it as the parts that makes us us. The parts that make us love someone and the parts that makes other people a little more difficult to be in a room with. But that's the magic.
Yeah.
I actually want to start this podcast about cutting people out that drag our energy down, because you and I also had a really nice 3 hour long conversation the other day. And that included also speaking about relationship to parents and relationship to old friend groups, and also what kind of friends we wish to have in our life. What's a good friend and what's a bad friend, if there is such thing that define that. So I'd love to hear if you want to talk a little about, if you want, your similarity or your relationship to your parents. Yeah.
Yeah. So my relationship to my parents is very different from many other relationships to the parents. I grew up in a home that I initially thought that was very safe, very and very normal family. I thought so. Then I turned around, I think it was 11 or 12. And then I realized that all my friends around me, like when they talked about conflicts in their family, It was so different from what it was in my family. Because in my family, it could be like throwing stuff, it could be like going on for days. You would never say sorry to each other. It will always be like some tension always constantly going on in the home. And it was very draining already at that time. And then as I grew older, I got some very good friends from high school as well to help me actually realize that it was not a very healthy environment for me to be in. So I actually got assigned an apartment when I was 17, where I moved out from home. And I've tried to go to family therapy. I've tried to really work with them on a lot of stuff, and some have helped, some have not. What I found the most useful at this time is actually having them in a bit of a distance, and trying to only have like good times with them, not really go into any conflicts, not really go to any deep stuff, because if you do that, conflicts and tension will happen again. So I actually try to maintain a healthy like balance between my family and I, and there are some I have a better relationship with than others, but mostly the people I have a good relationship with are like my sister and my dad, and the others are like my little brother and mom. And I don't know why I don't have that good of a relationship with my brother, because I really love him. I just think we're so different and have so different values and view on lives that every time we talk, we just like, he's like in a whole different lane than I am in every time we're talking, so we never understand each other. And it's probably also a two-way street. Like I also need to try and understand him more, he needs to try and understand me more, so it's like a whole thing that's going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a little curious because I have been reflecting on that from my own life and my own relationship to my family. If have you ever in some kind of way felt embarrassed about your relationship to your parents or your family in general?
Yeah, I'm still doing it from time to time actually, especially when I meet like new people and they're like, "Oh, I'm going on this amazing trip with my parents. Oh, we had such a nice weekend. We just talked and played games and stuff like that." I can sit there and be like, "Okay, in this weekend I had an argument." Like so it sometimes feels a little bit embarrassed, but I try to own it and just say it how it is, maybe tone it down a bit for the people who don't really understand how how like families can be so different, because people who lives in like a perfect, I know there's no such thing as perfect, but a perfect home, they don't really have the understanding of how it can be so difficult to actually spend some time with someone you love, which I do. I really love my family. It's not that. We just have some difficulties, and it's hard for some people to understand, and that's where I can mostly feel embarrassed, because if I can feel a person is already having a bit of trouble themselves, then it is easier for me to talk with that person about it.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting that you mentioned that, because we also talked about the other day how can some people understand and some people cannot. So actually, I'm a little curious to hear your reflection on that. That you can come to one person and tell one story, and you'll like meet some kind of reaction, and you'll go and tell like, the exact same story to someone who has also experienced a turbulent home, or has in some other way been exposed for bigger traumas than normal. How that understanding are different.
I actually think that it's a lot about what people have been exposed to. So if people have been exposed to like the biggest argument they had is like where they would go and eat for dinner. Like if that is the biggest argument they have had in the past like a year with their family, then they don't really get the whole like, but how can you not just talk about it, figure it out? Because sometimes I always try to do that. We're still working in my family. It's not something that comes from day to day, but I really need to, like, every time I have an argument, I need to say, let's talk about it. Let's not yell. Let's try and use our words. All that stuff. That's like a lot of people, if they haven't experienced being in a situation where they're like misunderstood in a purposely way, then they don't really know how it gets to like purposefully misunderstood. So
Yeah.
if people are coming from an understanding and loving family, then it's easier for them to like, why don't you just talk it out?
Yeah.
And I think if people have been in a situation where like, I can't just talk it out, and I know that some families might not be able to just talk it out. So what would you like to do something else about it? Like then it goes like to another level, the conversation. It's more like then if somebody just say just talk with them about it, then it's like okay, the conversation just ends there, because then I know from initially they don't really understand what I'm trying to say.
Mm. Mm. When I met that as a kid, I actually kind of got offended, and I felt wrong that they didn't understand me,
Mm.
and I felt that maybe my problems were just something I created in my head, that
Yeah,
I was the issue.
yeah,
Um, but later on, I actually really, really got to understood a sentence that my mom always told me, that there's a difference. It's more difficult to explain this sentence in English because I don't know another word for it, but there's a difference about truly understanding someone and being able to see how someone feels.
yeah.
Because my mom always said we can't understand another person unless we've been through similar things.
Mm.
So I can always see on someone that they feel really bad about something, but if I have not tried something that's more or less similar, I will never truly understand it. So also it was kind of hurtful to have someone being like, "Yeah, I understand you," and you'd be like, "No, bitch, you don't do at all." And you kind of felt that you have to explain yourself, and that was the worst part because you weren't in the mood for explanation. You were actually in the mood for finding peace and understanding.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
For finding like comfort and trust in that person, and then you just get met with like, oh, I understand you. And you're like, you come from a perfect family. You could never understand this situation I'm sitting in. Like, it's such a difference, and I'm not saying that, oh, now only the people that understand stays together and only the people who don't understand stays together. It's not like that, but it's like you have to take it in a more conversation, maybe ask, why is this, how is that, instead of just saying, why don't you talk about it, I understand. Because if you have never been in a situation, you don't know what situation it is, and you don't know the feelings about it. So maybe try and ask instead of just going on and trying to comfort in a way that's actually quite insulting for people who has been through trauma.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Or just sometimes people just need love and they don't need solutions.
Exactly.
Yeah, but there's also a difference. Like if you have a really good friend, like and comes from a perfect family in this family example, and they hug you when you're sad and they say I understand you and they say it with compassion, that's okay. But there also
Mm.
are people like, yeah, I understand your conversation over. It's like stop.
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
but what I want to like talk about or hear your opinion is that when this happened to me when I was younger, I would be offended and I might even actually feel worse. But
Yeah.
now, when I have really understood the difference between it, um, if I sometimes are speaking about something and I am not being met in what I truly need, it's not hurting me anymore. Like now, for me at least, I truly know, I just breathe and tell myself, okay, they don't understand. And that's completely okay. They are not worse people just because they don't understand. We just have different stories because we are two different people.
Yeah, exactly. They might also have been through something else that I don't understand. It goes like I said before, it's a two-way street. You always have to also, you need to understand within yourself that you cannot have experienced everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's the same with the other person. Like everyone needs to understand that you might sometimes just support and be there for the person, but also sometimes if you don't understand, then don't say you understand. Let's say, oh, I'm so sorry you feel like this. What makes you
Yeah.
feel like this?
Yeah, or
Trying
say,
to like saying, is it like this? You can maybe try and compare it to something in your own life. And it could be like kind of like this, but more like this. So you
yeah.
can try and compare everything to your own life. That's okay. But do not say you understand unless you have been in a similar situation, because
Mm.
yeah, I feel like it's quite insulting actually if people are like, oh, I understand where you're coming from. You're like,
Yeah, but I think that people also just say it because, another opinion I also always have had is that a lot of words nowadays are being misused because either they have gotten another meaning by society and it's not the official meaning by a word, or people simply just doesn't have a big enough vocabulary because people get more lazy over the years.
yeah,
Um, so I think that it's the rarest of people who would say understand and meaning poorly. But why we are talking about it anyway is because even though you say that word and you mean it with compassion, what happens is that what I always say is every word has a power. So you have to choose your words carefully, because if I receive, I understand something, yes, I will feel the compassionate as well, but something inside of my brain would also hear the words and then compare, but do you truly understand? And somewhere inside of me, I will be in some way offended, maybe. I think you can
yeah,
also work with it and just accept it as it is.
true.
But it also goes the other way around for positive things. Like if someone comes and tells me I have scaled my business to $1 million, and like comes with this huge smile, I would never be able to say I understand you because I haven't done that yet, you know? So it also goes for
Exactly.
the positive things. It's not just the negative things.
Like let's say I come and say to you, I got an A in my biology assignment, and you would be like, oh yeah, I understand. And you've never had biology, so you don't know what work I
Yeah.
went through, but you would be so happy for me and say, I'm so happy for you, that's such a great work, stuff like that. But you would never say, oh, I understand. Like, it's
But
so different.
also, I would never in my whole life understand the struggle and the happiness and the lows and the ups and the downs that you go through as a university student, because I have never been in a traditional university.
No.
So when I speak with you and other old friends that are in the university, I can't offer the conversation so much, but I can offer different things to the conversation about that, because I know that I would never understand, and I see that you struggle and I see that you love it and you hate it, and I think that's with all universities, it's ups and downs. I know that because I have seen it on every single university student that it's up and down, but do I truly understand it? No.
No. But
Yeah.
I think that university is like, I think it's just another education that you maybe haven't tried. Like right now, you're on your healing journey, you're on your healing education, you're doing everything. And I don't really understand all that, but I have so much respect and I'm so happy for you with that. And I am like, it's kind of the same situation. It's just more common to go to a university, especially in Denmark. Everyone does it almost, or
Yeah.
to some other kind of higher education as well. And it is just a thing that is like a community within it. And I know that many other types of education, whatever, like if it's a life education or it's an like education by school, then you'll always have some kind of like, what do you call it, like community within that. So I just, to be honest, the reason I go to university is because I really want a future in environmental biology, and I want to do something good for the world, want something good for the nature, want to do a change there, and then also that is like my job goal. So, in able to achieve that, I need the university degree, both a master and probably a PhD later, and also I have a lot of very good friends in university. I wouldn't be able to make it through university if I didn't have my friends, and there wasn't such a like positive learning environment as there is in my class. Especially, I can't speak for everyone, but in my class is such a positive learning environment, and it's so like calming to be there. It's so nice to see all of your friends, and yes, you stress about some of the subjects and some of all the learning, but then you're like in it together. So when you stick together, you make it like through actually. I think I wouldn't be able to make it through if I didn't have my friends.
Yeah, that's so lovely, honestly.
Yeah.
That's so lovely. But it's also so nice that you are mentioning it because, as you know, my I have nothing against university, or I have zero things against normal society. But what I want to spread to the world is that do not take an action and do not agree with something just because everyone else is doing it. Like, for example, I have so much respect for the university you are going to, and for why. I have respect because you have a deep why. But I didn't even know this, but I also learned it from another friend, I think like a year ago or something, that so many people are, for example, in Denmark going to medicine school or law school just because.
Mm.
Just because it's fancy to go there, just because all their other friends are going there. But they actually truly do not want a future in this field. And they're taking the spots for so many people who truly, truly, truly have a deep why for it. So, I mean, I don't really care what other people do, because that's not. I mean, I care what I'm doing. What I would say is that in my life, I am the most important person, so I can't really spend time being upset about what Danish people in Denmark chooses with their university. But I think it's a shame to make a choice if you don't have a deep why.
Yeah. I also think that a lot of those people will eventually just end up spending time wrongfully, and they'll just, some drop out, some take another education later on when they find their passion, stuff like that. And I feel actually sorry for those people. I know it sounds crazy to say, but I feel sorry because they might get a high degree in like medicine or law or biology or whatever, but if they don't really like burn for it, if they don't really feel the passion, then you'll never achieve anything more in your life. And then a lot of people like burn out, have a whole psychotic break maybe. Others are just quitting everything and then just go into a hole or travel the world, which I have so much respect for as well. But people need to understand that if you do the right thing for you and you feel in your stomach, if you sit down, actually say, is this what I want to do? Then like I have this reflection like at least once a month. Like, do I
That's
like
so
my
nice.
job? I have two jobs. Do I like my jobs? Do I like what I want, what I do with my free time? Do I like what I do in university, stuff like that? Sometimes it's a no, but then there is something else, because right now I have two very hard subjects in school and I'm very stressed about them and I don't really like them. But then I say no, but the next subjects I'm gonna have is gonna be great for education. It's gonna be great for the future. So
Yeah.
sometimes you also need to think about things is like both momentarily, but also in the big picture. Like you need
I
to have
love that you're mentioning
both.
that. I'm getting goosebumps. I love it. No, I really love it, and I can tell you why. Because first of all, it's just so true what you're saying. And I also read in Atomic Habits many years ago that and this line, I don't completely remember it, but it's just stuck in my head, the purpose of it. And it's like, the man whose why is strong enough will always be able to walk.
Yeah,
And it's so true because I have really been reflecting on that the past few days and the past few weeks. That, for example, I am a person that if I want something, I want it tomorrow, you know?
yeah,
I want this podcast to be huge tomorrow, but it
yeah,
might take half a year, it might take years, you know? Um, and so it's like this remembrance of, for example, I don't like my subjects, but I really dream to have a job in this field, so I just have to stick up with it.
yeah,
Um, and and actually, this is exactly an example of what we talked about before. Do I understand the struggle in your university? No, but I understand what you just said because I
yeah,
have experienced it in another field.
yeah, exactly.
So I understand the purpose of what you're saying, but do I understand the example? No, I don't. Um, but yeah, it's so true and it's so cool to remember.
But
Yeah.
but I also actually think there is a lot in society that right now there's this trend with like, oh, if you don't feel good with what you're doing, then just quit. Like you need to only take care of yourself in like a matter that says right here, right now. And I think a lot of people really misses the whole picture and not only in the moment. Like sometimes no, I hate this right now, but this will lead to something good, then it's okay that things sucks for a moment. And then if you have the picture that says, okay, it sucks right now, but it's gonna get good.
But maybe
Then,
it's a
but
sorry.
not only just, but I'm saying like not only just quit when things starts to get hard, because that's also sometimes when it gets hard, that's where you're really learning. Right now, I'm really learning to go to school and learn stuff that I don't want to learn, that I don't find interesting, which is also a skill that I will bring for me in the future. But like, I don't want to quit right now just because these subjects I don't like. You really need to think about also the consequences of your choices if you're quitting stuff and cutting things out. Some have positive, of course. I'm not saying that you should, for example, stick in a relationship that is just sucked for years, never been good, never brought you anything. It can be both a romantic relationship but also friendship relationship. Just in general, thinking about like the bigger picture. Like if you have a friend and they have just evolved into being this horrible person, you don't get nothing from them, they just take and take and take and take and take your energy, then you don't really have the why anymore. You don't really have the bigger meaning. Like, oh, it's gonna get good. You don't know that. Like, this is just a feeling. And then you also need to think, then you have to think about the moment. But for example, if it's more like maybe like in a professional way situation, then you need to think about more bigger picture and stuff like that. And also I think you're so brave for traveling around the world and just leaving everything at home and saying, bye, I'm moving to Bali, I'm moving to Mexico, I'm moving all around the world. I was so nervous for you in the beginning, to be honest. And
I
but
think
it's
most
worked
people
out great
would.
for you because you saw the why, you saw the vision, and you're on your journey, and it's so beautiful. I'm so happy to follow you.
Thank you. That's so
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I kind of quit society.
Yeah.
I think I just found another society that I prefer being in instead, to be honest. But it's so true what you're mentioning, and I think I don't know the trend because I'm not really on any social media anymore. So I have zero idea what's going on unless it happens 10 meters around me, which is also really enjoyable. But I think there is a truth to what they're saying, but in the way that you're saying it. For example, if you have a job that's really shitty and you really don't like it anymore, if there is a bigger picture of having the job, stick with it and like find a way that it's purposeful for you. But of course, if you don't see a future in it either, like if there isn't even a why, that's where you should quit. I
Exactly.
mean, there is no need and absolutely zero reason to stick around something that's bad for you if there isn't a bigger picture in it. And what you said about relationships is so true, and I think that's also why now I'm actually not seeing my family a lot more because I see them like once a year because I travel, but I feel emotionally that I see them more because I have went through this huge healing here in Mexico and also worked out a lot of stuff this year with them. But I think that's why both of us at some point more or less cut our family out because I just got this feeling and this opinion that blood is not thicker than water. And I spoke about it in one of my episodes as well, that if your family is not good for you, don't stick around. And there's different ways to don't stick around. You don't have to maybe cut them off completely until like the storm has calmed down if you need that. I did that. Or you can just like distance as you are doing.
Yeah.
And I'm also kind of doing it, but and that's actually what has made the change in me. That now when I think of my family, I'm like excited to see them and I really feel love towards them. But before, when I was allowing myself to accept too much, of things that wasn't good for me, I didn't really like my family. Um, so I actually also think that what makes you like other people is that you know your boundaries. Actually, if you really think
Yeah.
about it, that you cannot like someone who keeps overstepping your line, obviously, but when you start putting up your boundaries, you meet the people around you in the middle of where it's good for both of you, and that's actually where love and connection happens. Um,
Yeah. That's
And I think
so
it's,
true.
yeah, and yeah, I literally just got this thought, but it's really a good way to see it, I feel. Yeah.
It's
And I
I think it's
even,
an
I don't
amazing
know
way to
about, thank you. So inspiring to talk to you always. No, it is. That's why I wanted to bring you on, because we say one word and we go from A, B, C, and all the way to C. Um, and about friendships, I don't know about you, but I can even give an example of exactly what you said. Uh, I have a friend that I really love a lot, and I want her the best. But currently, I'm not speaking that much with her because I haven't been for a while, because she's super, 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 super negative. And she's only always negative. Like, there's always something wrong, and everything is always about her. And even like when we meet strangers, she spends like literally, I experienced once, she spent like 2 3 hours just talking about her and her problems, because she also has a lot of physical problems. And I love her so much, but in some way it just got too much for me that she was always negative, and that wasn't nice being around. So I actually distanced myself. And now I have decided that, I really care for her. So if she comes into my life again, I would like it. But I would have to tell her, because I haven't done that. And you can also speak about if that's good or bad. But I think I just haven't been ready. But I would have to have a talk with her and tell her, like, I love you, but you are super negative.
Yeah.
In another way, but even though that I love her and I still think about her with love, I had to cut her out, or at least distance myself to her, because she was negative all the time, and I felt every time I spoke with her, I felt my energy was just completely gone. Um, and also I felt, in other ways that I would start think negatively or just feel sad, or maybe I had planned that I wanted to do something on a project, and then after speaking with her, I'm like, wow, I can't. And I cannot blame her for it. The person who is to blame is me, who picked up the phone and spoke with her. But it's a fact that she's negative.
Yeah.
Um, and and also what we actually, exactly what we spoke about the other day, the moment you understand that everything is a fact, it makes it much easier for you to make a decision, and also to love and accept.
Yeah.
For example, like, she's negative. I don't hate her for it. It's a fact she's negative. What do I want to do about it? Well, I don't want it in my life. So I love her, but I can't have her as one of my closest people.
And that's completely okay. In general, I have experienced too, actually, that I was cut out of someone else's life like about a year ago, because there was like a whole situation happened, and it just ended up in me losing like three of my very best friends, actually. And I was so sad, and sometimes I'm still sad about it because I miss them. And the way it happened, I can just say that it wasn't like it just ran out in the water. We didn't talk anymore. It wasn't like that. It was like a lot happened, and it was a whole conflict, and very dramatic. And I didn't really have any say in it at all. It was just them decided that they don't need me anymore, so they just
Yeah.
discarded me, and I felt really hurt, but it also made me like really reflect on my life and the people I have in my life, that if I have people that could just discard me when I'm like really down. I was really down at that point. I really needed help, and they knew that. Like, there was no doubt about, they knew that. I told them, they knew, and they just didn't care. Then I was like, I am not always like this. If I always had drama, always needed help, stuff like that, then it's different. But it was just at that time, I just really needed my friends, and they were just like, no, it's too much for us, we're gonna leave. And that felt really hurt to me, but actually, it was a gift in the end, because I realized that I could live without them. My life continued. I actually grew more relationship, more meaningful relationship, more relationship that gave me like even greater happiness and stuff like that. Grew into like deeper relationship with my boyfriend, who I really love, and we just have a great and amazing relationship. And just in general, actually try to get something positive out of it. I don't know if I'll connect with them again. Time will show. But if I do, I know I also need to have a conversation about everything that happened. We have to talk everything through and why people reacted the way they did. So we can maybe, if we would be friends again, I don't know if I want to yet, then try and see patterns so nothing negative happen in the future in this sense. Because I would really like for the people in my life at the moment to bring me energy, to not take and take and take. Of course, it's okay to take energy sometimes if you need it. If you're in a struggle, that's different. Of course, I'll be there for you, but that's also expectations of you being there for me when I need you, and also we just grow our relationship out of this. So of course it's okay to take energy sometime, but then in the end you come back with an even bigger output of energy towards you. So everything has like a process, and I really try to just surround myself with positive people, with good relationships, funny people I can laugh with, but also have deep talk with, that have kind of like people who has everything. And it sounds really like people are like, where do you find these people? And I'm like, I don't really know. They just, because I changed my view on the world and my view on who I want in my life, I think I attracted people who feel the same way. So I actually think that it starts within yourself, who you like kind of attracting in your life.
So this is the charm with Mexican Wi-Fi in Mexican rainy season. The Wi-Fi can be a little unstable. I do apologize for that. We were cut off, but I hope that with the best of luck that the first little time is saved and we will get back to it now. Freya, when I was cut off, what you spoke about was that some of your friends had cut you off without like kind of further notice, and you had really reflected on something, reflected on your relationships and on your life and in general what you want in your life, and you were just speaking about the learnings you have gotten about people dragging energy or giving energy or also neutral. And what I want to add to that and ask you for that is that, or actually what I want to tell you that I have never told you, is that you also said that it was kind of here that you started reflecting on people. And I have never told you it, but I also see this episode, as bad as it was in the moment, this was actually what kickstarted your self-development. And it was what kickstarted the new Freya that I know today, because you have developed a lot for the better since this moment happened. And I really enjoy seeing it, and it makes me super happy to see that. And I just think that it's important to mention that no matter as much a situation hurts in the moment, I mean, allow that it hurts and accept it, because that's the best way to get it out and to learn from it. But some of the moments where we have our head the most buried in the mud and our heart is just breaking are often also the moments that later on in life will be the Kickstarter for something greater.
Yeah. And I also, like, sometimes it still hurts a lot because there was also like a trauma involved in everything. And then I first had to treat the trauma, and then I had to treat the trauma that happened from the trauma where my friends left me and stuff like that. So there was like a lot going on, and it was really hard. And I really thought while I was in there, how am I ever gonna get better? Like, and sometimes I still get that feeling. Sometimes I still get it, like, eventually. But then I think about, like, oh, but I have, then maybe the next day, then I'm like, oh, but why was I thinking that? I have all these great people in my life. And then I try and, like, hold on to that thought, and then it goes further and further away from me actually thinking that. That'll also just show I'm still in the process. And before that moment I was still evolving, I would say, but in a different way, and maybe not in the like most efficient way, and maybe not in the best way and stuff like that. I think I was very just comfortable with my life. I had stable people and just stable life, just normal, and was about to start university. Everything was just going according to how society says it should be. So kind of like I had like a childhood maybe with some problems. I had quite a lot of problems growing up, but then I solved them, and then I was like, okay, that's where I evolved from, and now everything is just good and perfect, and my life will just go nice. I'll have an education and end up in an amazing job. Done. And then this like world changing thing happened, and now I'm like, I'm never just like completely satisfied with where I am. I always think about what can I do better? What can I do to get more of a process? How can I give more to people, and how can they give more to me and stuff like that? Always trying to like evaluate everything I'm doing in my life to try and make it better. And it's not like I'm criticizing everything, I'm just evaluating. And there is a big difference between evaluating and criticism, because I'm not saying, oh, this is shit, this is shit, this is shit, this is shit. I'm just saying, like, oh, I haven't really been a lot to school lately, for example, and I'm like, oh, I'm a little bit behind, and my exams are up in 2 to 3 weeks. What should I do? This is not good. And then I'm like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Then I was sat down today, actually made a plan, and was like, this is what's gonna happen. This is how I will improve. So not just cutting things out, but just changing things a little bit, maybe more than less, for it to be for the greater good. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. And I think what's really important to remember here is that evaluating is great, but also I think you rounded it up pretty good, because it shouldn't be something haunting you and you always want to evaluate something. Because also what I am learning and accepting more and more in my Ayurvedic studies that is so holistic is that sometimes it's completely okay to just sit and be tired. But if you accept that you're tired, you will recharge. And then you can evaluate when your mind is ready for it. Or just like evaluation is super good, like to reflect upon more or less everything, but it doesn't have to be something that is haunting you down. I mean, you can do it in small things as well. A reflection might as well also be that last night I ate a burrito from a restaurant. And yes, of course, everyone will be like, that's so delicious. And it is super delicious, since I am in the country of burritos. But it's also very heavy food because it's made as fast food. And my body does not react well to that. And a reflection simply of that is also a reflection about how will I make other choices in the future for my food. It doesn't have to be over friends and for jobs and for everything. It's just
Yeah,
actually
exactly.
what it's about is just a loving consciousness about, are you happy with the things that are happening?
Yeah, exactly. Like, for example, next time maybe you say, okay, maybe don't buy fast food burrito, and maybe next time I'll cook my own so I know what's in it and I know like
Exactly.
how to do it. So it's not like you should stop eating burritos because burritos are delicious, eat it. And like, yeah, so not really cutting everything that's bad but also gives you joy in your life. Maybe like try and think about like the reflection you made and the actions you want to take towards it. Sometimes it can also just stating, okay, I'm feeling this way, that's my reflection,
Yeah.
done. And sometimes
Yeah,
I
yeah.
say, okay, maybe next time not do this when I know I don't react well to fast food. Then say, okay, maybe next time I'll cook it on my own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It definitely won't be the same Mexican burrito, but it definitely would be better for my body. um, yeah. Well, Freya, we've already actually spoken a lot. That's typical us. It goes from one topic to another very quickly. Um, but for me to hold the episode a little bit down, because I really enjoy that it's less than an hour, so I don't take too much of people's time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just quickly, I wanted to talk about that. Um, when we were 18, 20, you and I, we partied a lot together. A lot. And there was a lot of alcohol included in those parties. And yes, we can laugh because we also got a lot of funny memories and good
Yeah,
stories to laugh about. But
yeah,
I have also reflected on my own party scene, and I felt for me, when I reflected back on it, that as much fun as it was also some kind of cry for help, or to run from, reality,
definitely.
or to hurt myself. I took a lot of decisions, especially when I was drunk, just to hurt myself.
Mm.
And I don't know if you want to talk a little about your reflections on that.
I I think I think the reason you bring it up is because we feel a lot in the same way. I still enjoy to go to a party like once a month, maybe go with my very good friends, and then it's elected parties that I'm like, okay, these parties I know will be fun. For example, I have a Halloween party this Friday that I'm really looking forward to. It's gonna be great, it's gonna be fun, but I don't think that I'll drink that much because alcohol is not bringing anything good in like especially in like how we drink it. I can sit down, enjoy a drink, enjoy a beer, enjoy a glass of wine, but I don't really want to get hammered anymore. Just out of my mind, just partying, forgetting everything, don't really care. And like I did that a lot, and it was definitely some kind of self-destructive behavior. Sometimes it wasn't, sometimes it was, sometimes it's just for fun, but like what do I get out of it? Do I get more fun, or do I actually get embarrassed the next day that, oh my god, I got so drunk that I don't remember everything and I passed out and I had to throw up in the toilet? Oh my god, what did I do besides that, because I don't remember. Like it was super embarrassing, and I just got, I was first of all hungover, so my body was filled with like toxins and stuff like that, and alcohol is poison. It is. Like
Yeah, that's a fact.
scientifically proven. You know that I do a lot about like scientific facts. It is scientifically proven bad for you.
Yes, but
So
everyone knows that, but they still
everyone
avoid
knows
it.
that, but just to state that it's not like toxins in your body. I say toxins in a different way that you say toxins. You're
True.
more like maybe emotional toxins sometimes, where I'm like actually scientifically
Toxins.
toxins. So your body is filled up with all this toxin, and actually your brain is lacking dopamine and stuff like that the day after you've been drinking. So you feel a lot. You feel so down because while you're drinking, your dopamine level in your brain rise and rise and rise and rise, and that's where you get the kick, the fun, the party, all the woohoo out of it. But the next day, you're in dopamine deficit. And this is a proven fact. So you feel down. That's also why you get hangovers. That's also why you feel like, oh, what did I do last night? And then you're like, I'm never drinking again and stuff like that. Also, like,
And next weekend.
and then next week, on the next day, actually do the exact same again. Stuff like that. And it's super damaging for both your body and also your like mental health.
And probably
And
also self-image, to be honest.
self-image as well, also, and also not just self-image but also how other like sees you. Like, are you just a party girl that's not taking anything seriously? Like, is that how you want to be perceived? Because that's not how I want to be perceived. And then I don't know, I think that, like, I don't say that people shouldn't get drunk, because if they want to do, they can definitely do that. And sometimes there are occasions where I get drunk as well, and it's super fun. And but I don't just drink like blackout drunk, just do stupid stuff for stupid things and stuff like that. I just like do what I want to do, instead of first of all trying to impress everyone else, and then second of all to actually do what's best for me, because I got like life lessons that told me now this is not a good idea to do. And I know maybe some 18-year-olds sitting out here listening to this and being like, "Oh my god, you sound like an old lady, like my mom telling me not to drink, nothing good will come out of it." And maybe I do. And maybe you need to learn it for yourself. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
but
don't I can't tell anyone what to do, but I'll just say for me personally, a lot of good memories came out of it, a lot of life lessons, but also knowing that I needed to learn when to stop. And
Yeah.
this is the time for me right now to like slow down on drinking and partying.
Mm. But I also think that, I thought the same. Maybe some people would be like, oh, so holy. But it actually has nothing to do with being holy or being some kind of way. It's just, after you start reflecting on your life, what's good for you and what's bad for you, that includes everything, alcohol as well, and partying. And I think what has changed is again, the purpose, the why. That you are not seeking a party just because it's Friday, but you're being invited to a Halloween party with your best of friends and you really want to go. And there's a
Yeah.
difference. And also, again, there's nothing wrong in going out and enjoying being really wasted and have a fun time as long as you take care. But also, most importantly, just as long as you know why. And why for me this is interesting is that I actually now reflect back and I don't think that if I had a more definitely like my years from at home when from 17 to 20 was like definitely the worst years in my home for me. And if those weren't bad years, if those were good years and I had peace at home, I actually don't think that for me I would be naturally drawn to drink. Maybe I would still party, but I don't think I would do it in this harmful way that I did it, and that I had to do it because you never have to do anything. And for me, I think that because for some reason I have always been very lucky, and the healthy choices has always been my favorite choices. I have actually always enjoyed, staying home with my family and just chilling instead of going out. Many Fridays I rather wanted candy than alcohol, and and I just think that again, as long as you are conscious about yourself, your life, your actions, there's nothing wrong in doing anything. Just be aware about what you're doing. And then also, I think it's important to remember it's a fact that alcohol is toxins. There's so many things we put into our body every day that's toxins. And again, as long as we are aware of it, we accept it, and the next day we take as we expect it to be. It is going to be a shitty day because emotionally we are off because of alcohol. We are physically off and all those things. And so there's nothing wrong in partying. But it's just interesting, for me at least, to talk about our history with partying and now, because for me now I barely drink. And it's not because I'm like, ew, no, don't drink. It's because I literally do not have the calling. And I come from a family that enjoys wine. And my dad is a nerd in wine. My dad has the finest of wines. And I always love to like taste different wines at his place. But now, even though you know how lovely, now I just smell it. I'm like, mmm. And it's not because I'm like, ew, I can't drink it. It's like, no, I don't feel like it. And I think actually maybe the point is that even though how old you are, if you don't feel like doing it, you don't have to do anything. And that goes for alcohol and for everything else in life. Um,
I
yeah,
also I definitely see what you're saying, but also like remembering that things should not only be principles. So if you're saying I don't drink, that doesn't mean that if you one day want to have a sip of wine, a glass of wine, that you can't have one. It's remember to like, what do you want to do right now?
exactly.
And why do you want to do it? So if the reason I want to get hammered is because, oh, that's just what everyone else is doing, I don't know. I'm also like really stressed at the moment, so it could be good to just forget everything. Then maybe I shouldn't get hammered because that's not a good reason. And but like if I want to get hammered because I don't know, it wasn't really the plan, it just happened because I just went with the flow of the party. I just had a lot of fun and I don't know, I didn't really know how it happened. Then it's like, okay, but then you just had fun. Then you just
Yeah,
followed your instinct in the moment and said, yes, but it wasn't really my plan, but that's what happens.
yeah,
Then it's like a different situation. And
so true.
then I feel like then it's maybe not an unhealthy hammered way, Like I don't really do it a lot. I say like I trying to justify what I've done, but this is really a reflection about like the experience I've had from the different kinds of hammered I've been. Because I promise you guys, I've been all the different kinds of hammered. Like
That's true.
everything you can imagine,
I
from
can agree on
hospital to
that.
getting picked up in a car to getting carried home over his shoulder to everything. I've tried everything. I tell you guys that like maybe just reflect on how hammered and why you're hammered, because
Yeah.
that's what I do right now, which puts me in way better situation than previously in my life.
I was about to say that as well, that if you just get hammered because it just happens and you're having fun, I was about to say exactly the same thing. It will be more healthy because you are going in with the right intentions. Whereas if you are chucking it, like forcing it down, it it's not even enjoyable to drink it either.
No.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Like for example, I don't really take shots unless they have like some kinds of taste in them that I really enjoy. Like just taking like a vodka shot, I couldn't think of anything worse. Like if even people would come and be like, I bought this for you, like even if it was a free shot, I would look at it and be like, I don't want to drink it. Like no, I don't want to.
Yeah,
Like I just don't like where previously I would just say, oh, free alcohol. Ugh, it tasted like shit. Like I didn't really want to do it. Like I wouldn't buy it myself. So why would I just take it? Like I don't really get it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
understand completely. Actually, I was thinking to end this actually talking about ADHD, if you'd like.
Oh yeah.
Um, Only if you'd like, and I think we should do it short because we've already been speaking for a long time. But also, it's my first time having a guest in the studio, so it's a process that I'll figure out how it works. But it's super enjoyable to have you, though.
Yeah.
Um, but if you want quickly, because we've spoken about now, like how you are reflecting on life, just general, just what we have learned from our life experiences and what has happened through that understanding in our opinions that has been formed throughout the way. Um, and um, and I think it would be cool to round it off with talking about ADHD, because as we just spoke about that, sometimes we might have been um, drinking to escape something. And one question that I really, really like, because you can also start by telling people why I want to talk about HD80, but quickly I'd tell that you're my friend, so I know that you are in the process of being tested for it, but of course speak about it as you like. But one thing I really reflected on was
Yeah.
that I wrote down the question that is there anything, and if yes, that has changed to your self image before and after you realized that you might have it? Like your self understanding, your self love or
Yeah.
self hate, like all these things, have it changed something in you?
Yeah.
And how was it
It
before,
it
if you
definitely
remember, and how is it now?
it definitely has. Like I'll just get back to it in a minute if I remember. But like I've always had this idea about like I am so energetic. I talk too much. I take up too much space in a room. Every like I would say that if people have met me and talked to me, they remember me. I have never met a person who does not remember me, and it is it has been very hard for me growing up, because a kid who talks too much and has too much energy and stuff like that has been really hard, and I have had so many dysfunctional relationships and dysfunctional like just way of living, if you can say so, like and dysfunctional classes where I went to school and stuff like that because I didn't really fit in. And we also I know we talked about that maybe ADHD is kind of like a society diagnosis more than a personal diagnosis, and I definitely kind of agree on that because I am just the way I am, and I love the way I am, and a diagnosis is not going to change that. But my brother has ADHD, and probably mom or dad, I don't know who, maybe both actually have ADHD, and it is really genetic. So that's where I was like, oh, maybe this is something when my brother got diagnosed. And then, as more as I went into research as women with ADHD and stuff like that, because I've always done really well in school, so I was like, oh, but I know how to concentrate when I have to. And but in general, the way I concentrate is so unhealthy. Like I hyper focus, I just everything else just disappears and doesn't matter and stuff like that, just because I need to focus on this right now. And I'm working with that within myself to change it into something better and more healthy. And um, like I've just also like ADHD is so much with like impulsive, so I've taken so many impulsive choices in my life. So I have done so many kinds of like self-harm, both mentally, physically, all different kinds of self-harm. I've done so self-destructive behavior. I have done so many dangerous behavior as well, like maybe, oh, I can just jump out from this, I can just do that, I don't really care. And I also think that you're laughing because you know I did that, especially while I was partying, just did so many like stupid
Yeah.
stuff because I was just like, this is fun. The funny part is I could also do that sober actually. It was like no difference with a lot of like that behavior, especially the self-harming behavior. So I'm kind of like, it was kind of like, what should I do about this? And I've went to therapy. I still am. I think I always will be in therapy from where I am right now in my life. And they helped me realize, gave me some tools to work with, like how do I do this in a more efficient way, stuff like that. And it has helped me a lot. But when I realized I have ADHD, things kind of kind of made sense. Like it was kind of like a puzzle that came together, like, oh, this makes so much sense of how I have like how I've behaved my whole life, how I've always felt like I don't fit in, how I always feel like I don't really know who I am, stuff like that, why I'm always self-destructive. And everything you can hear, everything I'm saying is like how I am, how I'm behaving, how I'm doing all this. So it definitely comes from inside, from me. It has also been like, maybe it hasn't really been thought through, but it has been conscious choices I have made. So it also reflects definitely back on myself. So I'm not gonna just put all the blame towards the diagnosis. I hate when people do that. I am not gonna do that. But it makes sense for the diagnosis to kind of like have driven me without me having any choices. That kind of feeling, even though I still had, of course, but it didn't really feel like I was having. So if we were to say, like, if you're staring into the sun, you might get really, really blinded, and all you can see is, oh, the sun is blinding me. But then you don't really notice, oh, but there is also like birds and a blue sky and like clouds in there. So you can only see the sun right now. But that doesn't mean all the other stuff is there. That's kind of like how I was feeling with like opportunities. Like I only felt like, oh, the sun. Oh, this is the only thing I can do. So maybe I had a choice, because there were also birds and there were also a sky. There were also clouds. So there were other decisions, but it didn't really feel like a choice. So what I have done right now is trying to like kind of get my sunglasses on, that's kind of the help, the involvement, and trying to like, oh, there is something else around it. I'm still kind of blinded sometimes, but there is so much else around it as well. And I really hope that by getting the diagnosis, I maybe could try some medicine. I don't know if I'll be on it, but I definitely want to try it if it really can like help me see everything from a bigger perspective and see all the elements in the sky.
That is so well described about the sun and the sky. I mean, I hope everyone take notes of that because I did. So well described. Really,
Yeah.
really good. You can use that for so many things.
Thank you. And I'm also really trying to say it in like a metaphor so everyone is understanding how it is to have ADHD. It's not like it is a choice, but it is it's not a choice to have ADHD, but it is a choice. Like the decisions you're making and everything you're making is a choice, but it's also like it doesn't really feel like a choice, even though it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's yeah,
I think without knowing it completely, but if I would like relate it to other things, not related, but reflect upon it, um, there is like everything is, or what I think I'm trying to say is that um, when we get more and more conscious, everything becomes a choice, diagnosis or not. Um, and there is nothing wrong with any choice that we make as long as we know why. And what I would think for someone who's, an outsider of ADHD, I have zero experience with it, except you. And that's not even that much because you're not even my daughter or anything, you're just a friend. Um, but like, even that you make a decision that would be defined as an ADHD decision is still a decision.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah. Wow. I think it's really cool that you bring it up, and the metaphor with the sky was amazing. Um,
Thank you.
Actually, it's really much how I see you as well. That earlier, you only did see the sun, but
Yeah,
now you are kind of like starting to paint the whole sky in the colors you
yeah,
like. Yeah, so
yeah.
cool,
And I
Freya.
love it. The rainbows are showing up and stuff like that.
Oh yes, oh yes. My partner actually said something really cool yesterday. He asked me, "Do you know what color would it be if you put every color together?" Do you know?
I think it's brown or something black.
It's black.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah,
if you put light between it, it will be white.
yeah.
Cool.
That is so true.
I think it's so cool to remember. And also what I learned from my Ayurvedic teacher yesterday also, she said something similar but different, was that to be enlightened is basically just to light yourself up. But
Yeah,
in order to be able to shine with your light, there has to be darkness around you.
yeah.
Because as everything is light, you can't see your own light.
It is so true as well. Yeah,
It's so cool. It's just like everything is just, you always attract what you already have your focus on. So there was my
yeah.
Ayurvedic teacher who said that, then my partner said that, and now you are saying this today. It's like, it's just a good remembrance, getting it all in. Freya, is there anything else that, because I think we have to round up, that you'd like to share about your ADHD or something completely else?
I just want to say, everyone, take care of yourself. And really, also, this is not anything Emmy has told me to say, this is just completely me. Try and remember that everything that we're saying, I'm saying now, and Emmy's saying in her podcast, is her point of view. Is how I perceive things, how Emmy perceive things, and use that as a tool. Because, for example, I'm not very spiritually, but Emmy is very. But I can still use all her spiritual advice in some kind of other way. So sometimes maybe just say, oh, this doesn't fit to me. Try and see what she's saying and how can this be transferred to your life. How can you benefit from this podcast and what other stuff Emmy is bringing to the table? Because she really is a dear friend and I've known her for years, and she's very wise, and she's very, like, a very, very, very great person to me. So I just want to say that.
Wow, Freya, I'm even getting happy tears. You're touching me so much. That's really, really nice of you. Super, super nice. And I mean, thank you for
Of
all the
course.
words. But it's true that I'm not here to put a opinion on top of other people's head. But I hope what I'm saying can be a kickstarter or an inspiration to form other people's opinion and thoughts and actions. But that was amazing words to receive this morning. Thank you.
Of course.
Aw, I love you. Well, nice, so nice. I think that we'll round it up now. It has been such a pleasure having you here. And if any of you guys listening wants to hear more from Freya, or have questions, just make a comment below and ask her questions there, and we'll figure out a way that she could answer, either via a text or either via a new podcast, a new episode she'll be on in the future. We'll bring them up then. I really hope that some of you could use what she said, because she's so different from me and she has other life experiences that I can't offer here, but she can. So it has been such a pleasure, and I wish you a very good rest of the day in Denmark, and I'm looking so much forward to see you in December.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing you too. And have a great day, everybody. Bye.
Yes. Ciao. Now that was all from today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you felt heard. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and find me on Instagram on Heal with Emmy to stay part of this conversation. Now all that's left to say is all the love from me to you until next weekend.